Hi, and welcome to Assignment The World for the week of February 28th. I'm Carlette Claire. Tej has the week off. Our top story this week, voters in Italy head to the polls.
On Monday, Italians continued voting for a second day in the national parliamentary election, being closely watched by Italy's European Union partners, as well as international investors. The decisions that Italians make in the near future promise to have a profound impact on whether Europe can put out the flames of its financial crisis. With an economy almost 10 times the size of Greece, Italy is simply too big of a country to see fail. Leading the electoral field is Pierluigi Bersani, a former communist who supports tough measures pushed by incumbent Premier Mario Monti. Monti, while widely credited with saving Italy from financial ruin, is trailing badly as he pays the price for the suffering caused by austerity measures. Silvio Berlusconi is seeking a political comeback after being forced from office in 2011 by the debt crisis. Then there's the wild card. Comic-turned-politician Beppe Grillo, whose protest movement against the entrenched political class has been drawing tens of thousands to rally across Italy. Residents of Italy say the election will be close.
The European Union was formally established in 1993 after the Maastricht Treaty came into effect. The treaty called for a strengthened European Parliament, the creation of a central bank, and common foreign and security policies. The agreement also started the European currency, called the euro.
In the rest of the news this week, the stars come out at the Oscar Awards. Raul Castro announces he is stepping down, and Secretary of State John Kerry heads overseas.
Secretary of State John Kerry has kicked off his first official overseas trip earlier this week by meeting with British leaders in London. Kerry is on a hectic 9-day dash through Europe and the Middle East. Kerry's maiden diplomatic trip kicked off with a meeting with British Prime Minister David Cameron. The talks with British leaders are expected to focus on the crises in Syria and Iran's nuclear program. Later, he will fly to Germany for meetings in Berlin. Kerry arrived in London as the Obama administration launched a frantic effort to try to salvage a Syrian opposition conference that Kerry plans to attend this week in Rome. Some members of the sharply divided Syrian Opposition Council are threatening to boycott the meeting. Raul Castro announced on Sunday that he will step down as Cuba's president in 2018 following a final 5-year term, for the first time putting a date on the end of the Castro era. Miguel Diaz-Canel is Castro's top lieutenant and first in line of succession. The 81-year-old Castro also said he hopes to establish 2 term limits and age caps for political offices, including the presidency. An astonishing prospect for a nation led by Raul or his older brother Fidel since the 1959 revolution. Since taking over from Fidel in 2006, Raul Castro has instituted a series of important economic and social changes, expanding private enterprise and relaxing hated travel restrictions. Still, Cuba remains ruled by the Communist Party. The stars were out this past weekend for the 85th Annual Academy Awards. Ben Affleck's film Argo, the story of how Hollywood, Canada, and the CIA teamed up to rescue 6 Americans during the Iranian hostage crisis, won Best Picture. Jennifer Lawrence took home the award for Best Actress for her role in Silver Linings Playbook. British actor Daniel Day-Lewis became the first person to win 3 Best Actor awards, taking the award for his performance as Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War saga Lincoln.
In our second story, where did we say Secretary of State John Kerry is heading? Europe and Asia? The Middle East and Europe? South Africa and Asia? And the correct answer is number 2. Secretary of State John Kerry will be touring the Middle East and Europe for 9 days.
Now it's time for the answers to last week's clues in the news. Find the location of our first clue and you get Caracas, Venezuela. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez returned home last week after receiving cancer treatment in Cuba. Chavez thanks Venezuelans for their support and will continue treatment in his home country. Chavez has been president for 14 years and was re-elected to another 6-year term in October. Unscramble the letters of our second clue and you get airline strike. Workers of a Spanish airline went on a 5-day strike in protest against job and salary cuts last week. More than 400 flights had been canceled due to the walkout. 1,000 flights from other airlines were also affected by the protest. Fill in the blanks of our third clue and you get meteor fragments. Scientists have been busy studying fragments from a meteor that hit Russia on February 15th. The meteor fragments are about ½ an inch in size and are about 10% iron. The meteor injured about 1,500 people and left widespread property damage.
This week in world history, February 22nd, 1980, the U.S. hockey team defeats the 4-time defending gold medal Soviet team at the Winter Olympic Games in Lake Placid, New York. The Soviet team was regarded as the best hockey team in the world, but fell to the American team 4-3. 2 days later, the Americans went on to win the gold medal, beating Finland 4-2.
All this month on Assignment The World, we will be celebrating Black History Month. This week, we talked to 2 musicians whose love for music has taught them how to overcome struggles in life. Check it out.
I'm a professional violinist. My career is as a professional violinist, and I live and work from New York City, and I play all over the world. Pretty much the day I started playing the violin, I knew I wanted to be a violinist.
When I was about 14 or 15, I entered in this competition and I was one of the winners. And I got a chance to play the first movement of this concerto with the orchestra. And from that point, when I walked on that stage and I played with this orchestra and I walked off, it was the most incredible feeling in the world, and I knew right then, instantly, this is for me.
I think anything worthwhile always has some difficulty, and it's a pretty good idea to get used to working hard at a young age, because there's always going to be something to overcome.
Judgment and maybe a moment of crisis or a challenging moment is what's going to push me to get to the next level. It's going to improve me, not just as a musician, not just in a career sense, but in a personal sense, just as a human being. The love that you have for what you want to do, whether it be music or art or dance or whatever, the passion and the love that you have for it ought to be stronger than any challenges that may come your way.
Spectacular lantern festivals were held across Taiwan on Sunday as the country celebrated the end of the Lunar New Year holiday. Crowds flocked to look at displays of colorful lanterns in all shapes and sizes. Some were snake figures to mark the year of the snake. People wrote their names on the lanterns in the hope that they would receive good luck in the coming year. The Lantern Festival is celebrated in communities around the world on the 15th day of the first lunar month.
This past weekend during NASCAR's Daytona 500, 32 spectators were injured after a car crash on the track sent debris flying into the stands. This is not the only sporting event in which fans have been injured. During other sports like hockey and baseball, spectators have been hit with pucks, foul balls, and even fragments of baseball bats. Some people feel that more needs to be done to protect fans in the stands. They feel that it is up to the sport or league to put the necessary precautions in place. They also believe that many of the current fences and nets are not doing enough. Others feel that sporting venues and leagues are doing more than enough to protect spectators. They feel that if you are going to a sporting event, that you know the risks involved. They also believe that as a fan, you should be prepared and pay attention in case something happens. We want to know what you think. Do you think more safety precautions need to be put in place for spectators at sporting events? Why or why not? Discuss the issue with your classmates after the show, and then write to us with your opinions. We received over 100 responses to our issue question. Do you think people should be appointed to lifelong positions? The majority of you, 73%, say no, while 24% say yes. This 3% are undecided. Grace from Sergeant Bluff, Iowa writes, I think that people should be appointed to lifelong positions because other people in the world can have the same job all their life. Why can't officials have that privilege too? Karsten from Sergeant Bluff, Iowa writes, if Supreme Court members have to be reelected, they would spend most of their time thinking about how to stay in their position and not on the court cases. Still, most of you feel that people should not be appointed to lifelong positions. Carmack from Fargo, North Dakota writes, if people have a lifelong job, they might be excited at it first, but over the years, they might lose interest. Kylene from Greenfield, Wisconsin writes, people should be reelected every few years. American citizens might want to see a new face or hear new ideas every once in a while. People can run again if they want to. Camille from Pittsford, New York says, when you sign up for a lifelong position, you know you will be dedicated to your job. No one will sign up for a lifelong position if they're not serious about finishing it. Jonathan from DeForest, Wisconsin writes, people should have to be reelected every few years. This way, if they aren't doing a good job, they won't have their position anymore. We look forward to your responses to our latest questions. Should school funding and teacher pay be based on student standardized test scores? Or do you think that more safety precautions need to be put in place for spectators at sporting events? We'll put some of the more thought-provoking emails and letters on air.
In our third story about Cuba, what year did we say was the revolution that led to Castro's leadership? Was it 1959, 1969, 1979? And the correct answer is number 1. Fidel Castro started his leadership in Cuba after the 1959 revolution. Raul Castro succeeded his brother in 2006.
And now it's time for next week's clues in the news. Our first clue is a location, 29 degrees, 57 minutes north latitude, 90 degrees, 5 minutes west longitude. Our next clue is a scrambled letters clue. It is one word, O-H-A-O-Y. And finally, our third clue is a fill-in-the-blanks clue. It is 2 words. First word, S blank blank W. Second word, S-T blank blank M. These are clues to stories we think will happen in the coming weeks. We'll reveal the answers on next week's show. Good luck. And that's it for this week's show. From all of us here at Assignment The World, I'm Carlette Claire. Have a great week.